Esport brings people together. Esport fills giant stadiums. Esport lets millions watch live. But esport organizations keep going bankrupt or secure their financing with shady sponsors. So how big is this problem? And how can esport get bigger every year while it doesn't work out for an essential part of this economy? The teams. Esport organizations are mostly just companies. Companies get founded and go bankrupt every day, so do these teams. But you would assume that it shouldn't happen to vastly successful teams. Even back in the days, Titan, one of the most legendary CSGO teams of all time, having an immensely successful French roster back then, had to file bankruptcy. After a cheating scandal involving one of the players, many sponsors terminated their contracts, so Titan had to cease all of its operations. This was a very special case, no questions asked, but it shows you that sponsoring is a very important part of a team's finances. We will take a deeper look into your team's expenses and ways of income in a second, but first let me show you some examples of orgs that recently shut down or got into trouble with the budget. Copenhagen Flames filed for bankruptcy because they couldn't find an investor. In last year's fall, FaZe Clan had only enough cash to keep running for one more year. Since February, they laid off about half of their employees to cut expenses. Now, they plan on offering and selling new shares to avoid bankruptcy again. In early 2023, Heroic announced that they will have to cease operations this summer if they couldn't find a significant multi-million-dollar investment. They're currently in negotiations to sell the company to an investment fund. And these are just some examples. So are all these esport teams just insanely bad at handling money and running a company, or is there some bigger problem? Just like every other company, those organizations have expenses for their staff, marketing, and so on, so nothing unusual at first. But depending on the game, and sometimes also the leagues you play and compete in, you have to pay fees to the publisher or the host of the league. So the slot in a league or tournament can cost a significant amount of money, just like in many traditional sports. The logic for this is something like playing in a certain league gives you some visibility through the streams, you can gain some fame for your team and its players, but the obvious problem that comes with it is, even if you do well in such a league, or even win, the prize money most likely doesn't compensate for your team's expenses during that time, plus the league fee. And even if you do not have to pay for your participation in an event, most tournaments and leagues don't have that high of a prize pool, and many teams also give potential prize money directly to the players. Either way, esport teams have to make their money elsewhere than in esports directly. The most obvious one are sponsorings. This can range from some simple logos on your team's jersey to a name sponsor. Like, let's say Heroic would get a sponsorship from Intel and would call themselves Heroic Intel from now on. In traditional sports, there's sometimes pretty strict rules for the size of logos on your jerseys or about what kind of companies are allowed for sponsorships, but I don't think there's something like this in place, at least for CS. Another form of income is merchandising, which is also utilized by nearly everyone from jerseys to branded hardware. And yet another way of generating revenue for your organization is content creation. This is also deeply connected with generally building your esports brand, getting fans, selling merchandise. So this basically became very popular over the last years, but it's also just a logical development. You make your players to esport influencers for your team. Bring all those sweet things just like ad revenue, subs, donations, and so on. You can also partner up with other content creators outside of the competitive cosmos that start to represent your brand and team, building some hype in relation to your team. And this is something super important most teams couldn't have done in the past. Building fans for your team, your club, your organization, and not the current roster or single player. Because your fans will stay, but fans of your current roster or special player will just leave and cheer for the new team if they leave. All this somehow creates a chicken and egg problem. To run a successful team, you need money, which you have to generate from other sources such as sponsorings, merchandising, and content creation. But to sell merchandise, to get sponsors, and to get people to watch your content, you have to compete successfully. But to compete successfully, you need a good roster, probably need to pay league fees, and so on, which means you need money. And as we see, even if you're a top team, it can happen that you rely too heavily on a certain income stream, which suddenly breaks away. For example, sponsors terminating their contract because of a global recession or some scandal involving your team. Counter-Strike got those sticker capsules, as you may know, and they split the revenue with the participating teams. This is a pretty nice money boost for the small teams, but can also get bigger teams in some trouble if they miss the qualification for the major, who'd already planned the year with some sticker income. Pretty sure Virtus.pro didn't expect to be eliminated in the RMRs. So I think it's currently a tough time for some teams. At least I hope that G2 wouldn't have partnered up with some unregulated online gambling site if they wouldn't have gotten into serious financial issues otherwise. I mean, they were either desperate for that Gamba money or just completely lost their conscience. Making a promotion video with your underage player, even though they waited with publishing until 2 days after his 18th birthday, and just the fact that they partnered up with a site where the CEO is just called by his damn nickname, because he doesn't want his name to go public. That's so insane to me. How can you make business with some unregulated offshore casino if not even the owner wants his name to be connected with it? But you print their logo on your jersey? That's almost as crazy as you would be sponsored by some Russian oil company. Oh, wait. But anyways, as always, thanks for watching, and until next time.